So I'm going to basically bring in a cavity mold in here.
Yeah. Yeah, complex surface cavity.
Yep, so you see sculpted surfaces, fillets, drafts, and all that stuff in here. So the workflow is very similar to what we did in 2-axis, but in 3-axis is a lot simpler. So we define the machining process, you define the machine tool, you define your post-processor in here. So we would like to use the Haas as the post-processor. You would select that, and then you define your workpiece, which is your stock material. You could define a stock as a box stock or part box stock, define that. And then you establish your work serial. So exactly the same steps of what we did for 2.5D.
Yeah.
Now in 3-axis, you just go ahead and select the operation type. So you can see that with the Pro configuration, you have a wide range of 3-axis toolpath methods. You have roughing, you have re-roughing, finishing, several different types of advanced finishing, pencil tracing, remachining, curve-based machining, a lot of different 3D methods. So typically, workflow start with a roughing process in here, and you'd want to pick a tool. So I'm going to use an end mill, set feeds and speeds, clearance, cutting parameters, and then you hit generate. Now, I didn't have to pick any surfaces or faces for machining, so Visual CAM automatically analyzes your entire part and the stock and establishes the areas for roughing. And it does roughing in levels, as you're noticing it right here. It does roughing in layers. And you could always select pause and then pick simulate to end, which runs through your simulation. So we just did a roughing operation with the large end mill, half-an-inch end mill. You'll notice that there are some areas where the cutter could not get in here or may not be able to effectively clean out some of those areas. So from a roughing, you can go to a re-roughing process. Now, the re-roughing is a very nice feature that's offered in our Pro configurations, which is called risk machining, where you can specify, your roughing operation with a smaller tool, and it's only going to go and look at areas that weren't being able to machine with a large cutter. So when you generate a re-roughing operation, it's looking at the stock being left from the previous step. And since I changed it from 25,000 to 15,000, you'll notice that it's only cutting areas where material is being left from the previous operation.
Yeah, I understand.
So this is re-roughing, which is offered in a Pro and Premium configuration. So the Pro would be ideal for your application needs. So you go from roughing down to a re-roughing operation. And then we want to do some finishing or pre-finishing, so we can start with a parallel finishing operation, select a tool for it. So we could use a ball mill. I'm going to go with a 1/4-inch ball, specify the cutting parameters, and then set the step over distance, select generate. And this is going to create a finishing toolpath. You can display the toolpath right in here. Now you'll notice that the finishing toolpath also automatically identified the entire part. Now if you do not want it to surface on the top of the mold cavity, we can define a containment boundary where I could select this curve edge region in here. I'm going to use select tangency, select that, and then generate it. So the cutter will stay inside the boundary. You can go to simulate and then select play to run the verification. So that's your finishing cut right there, pre-finishing cut. So you can always select pause and then simulate to end to run through the simulation. So there are different types of finishing operations we offer here. So this is parallel finishing. We could do finishing in levels known as Z-level finishing. We also call it horizontal finishing. And I can again select the boundary in here to contain the tool paths, select the tool, specify the cutting conditions in here, and generate. So this will generate a finishing in levels operation. Okay?
Yeah.
You can also do constant 3D step over pocketing, which is a very nice toolpath method, which is also known as constant scallop machining or uniform 3D step over machining. And you can specify these parameters as well. So the Pro offers you all of the advanced 3-axis machining methods. In addition to these, you can also do pencil tracing and remachining as well. Now, you can also select part surfaces for machining. Now, while this toolpath is being computed, I'm going to add another parallel finishing toolpath in here, and I'm going to use what's called part surfaces. I can select only a certain set of surfaces to be machined, and I can select those surfaces. You can see I'm highlighting those surfaces in here. I'll accept the selections, and then I can choose whether I want to keep the cutter onto the surface or go past the surface. I can set those conditions in here and generate it. So selection of surfaces for machining, and the 3D offset pocketing which you're generating just got done. You can see how nice the toolpath looks, constant, uniform 3D step over. Are you able to view that, sir?
Yeah, sure. It's very nice.
And once you have all your toolpaths programmed, you can look at the estimated machining time based on the parameters what you specified. Right-click on it and then select Post. That'll generate your output file.
Okay. Very good.
There's your posted output file.